Harry's wife, would she be let back in? What's that knocking sound? It's Harry's wife bashing on the doors and on the gates of Buckingham Palace. She wants in. Well, as Little Richard once sang, keep a knocking, but you can't come in. Would there ever be a situation where Harry's wife would look for readmittance into the royal family? In short, yes, there would be. Notwithstanding her behaviour, where she has taken regular potshots at the royal family, smearing them and doing so whilst Prince Philip was dying, being a thorn in the side of the Queen in her twilight years. Remember, Harry's wife has no sense of remorse, no conscience, no guilt. Her narcissism, indeed, doesn't cause her to think, I want to get back with the royal family, but I have been very shitty towards them. Maybe I shouldn't bother, or maybe I should look at a different way of going about this. Oh no. With the brazen behaviour that many of you have recognised in narcissists that you have dealt with, she would, with huge brass neck, simply look for admittance again, because she believes that she deserves it. You see, the way that her narcissism functions is that it doesn't keep a list of what she has done wrong, because she doesn't recognise that she's done anything wrong. When things have happened, they evaporate into the ether and only become resurrected where it serves a purpose for the narcissist. You, for example, let's say you went out and you got a bit lashed, you'd thrown back the booze, and you ended up saying a few choice words to some of your friends. The next day, you wake up and you start to piece together the night before. As I've witnessed with other people, their fear comes, and they remember what was said, or perhaps a helpful stroke unhelpful friend reminds you of what you actually said. You feel yourself cringing. The shame washes over you. Why? Because you are able to function with a conscience. You experience guilt. You feel bad for what you have said. In some instances, you might forge through it and contact the people to issue an apology. In other circumstances, you would think, the best thing I can do for the time being is just to lay low and let it all wash over. I don't think it would be welcomed if I went to speak to them, not after the things that I've said. But a narcissist doesn't function that way. The narcissist, because of compartmentalization, needs to do what needs to be done, and what happened yesterday was yesterday and is forgotten about. That's why, for instance, if you were to say to the narcissist, you've got a cheek turning up round here, they'll look genuinely confused. And when you explain why, they'll go, oh, stop going on about the past. It was only fucking yesterday. Or, why do you have to bring things up again? I thought we'd moved on from that. Well, you might have done so, Mr. Narcissist, but I certainly hadn't. Your scathing words still are ringing in my ears. But you see, because the narcissist has to deal with the moment, yesterday is unrelated and therefore has no impact. And the way that the narcissism functions is through compartmentalization, is to jettison it. And thus, whereas you might think to yourself, Harry's wife would have an absolute cheek if she was to turn up and suggest that she ought to come back into the royal family, believe me, she doesn't think she would have. Because her narcissism, in order to compel her to do it, would tell her, you are the Duchess of Sussex. They owe you. You put up with some terrible behaviour from them. The least they could do is let you back in with open arms and allow you to resurrect your life as a royal. Whilst they're at it, give you a castle and lots of money. And thus, we come to the nub of why this might happen. Harry's wife's popularity has plummeted. Deals have been lost with Spotify, ultimatum issued by Netflix, and there there is little in the pipeline by way of alternative offers. She is high maintenance in terms of the amount of money that is required on a weekly basis to keep the Monty Shit Show mansion functioning and all associated with it. The money is starting to dry out, or dry up rather, and therefore, as an important residual benefit, she wants more. She's not able to do so. Harry's fucking useless in that regard. But there is a father-in-law that sits on a huge pile of dosh. And her narcissism will propel her to either, in the first instance, look to get Pa Charles to bail them out in some way. Only after, of course, the royal family have apologised first for being so horrible to her and Harry. Or ultimately, even compel her to seek readmittance to the royal family. Yes, I can hear your gasps of, surely not. Surely even she wouldn't try that. But believe me, that whilst previously her narcissism has kept her away from the royal family as a consequence of the fear of wounding, ultimately, should the pressure upon her for fuel, control, and residual benefits become so great, it would propel her towards seeking readmittance to the royal family. If you were hungry, you might walk around for a little while, gazing longingly at the sandwiches in the delicatessen, but you're not moved to try and steal one because you are a law-abiding citizen. But as your hunger increases, and if you are unable to find any alternative way of feeding yourself, there would come a point, that your level of hunger would compel you to override what would ordinarily stop you from stealing. It's similar with Harry's wife. Although the risk of wounding may keep her at bay, there will come a point, potentially, that her needs for the residual benefit of money, the need of an alternative lifestyle again because the one that she chose hasn't worked, forces her to say to the royal family, let me and Harry back in. This, of course, presupposes that they're still together, and there's a potential disengagement, as I've explained, that would mean that in such circumstances she would just seek a load of money from him in terms of spousal and child maintenance, and then go and seek somebody else, and therefore she wouldn't seek readmittance. But should they remain together, and there's the potential for that to occur, although it's less likely than disengagement, in such circumstances, if things continue in the vein that they are at current, then she will find herself forced, because she will not shift in terms of the lifestyle to which she has become accustomed, to then looking at rejoining the royal family. Of course, what she would then do is, if she were readmitted, milk it, and then depart again, and idiotically start up looking for deals to cry about how badly she's been treated. Yes, she is that stupid, because many narcissists just rinse and repeat, and she's certainly one that would. But would she be let back in? Well, as I've explained, there is a possibility. It's not a high possibility, but it remains a possibility, or nonetheless, that she would seek readmittance into the royal family. But would she be let back in? Charles potentially could go with it. Why? To make him look good. It would help manage his facade, to enable the long-lost son to return, and his wife also. It would also, of course, allow access to the grandchildren as well, and would generate that family-friendly facade that Charles sees as important. There would be considerable opposition from elsewhere, however. The Prince and Princess of Wales would not want them coming back because they see them for what they are. They actually know what is going on. They know what Harry's wife is and know how Harry is affected by her manipulations. The Princess Royal would also object. Ultimately, the king might be predisposed to allowing them to return because he wants his son back, and may, as a point of assertion of control through agreement, allow that to happen even though it means that the spider comes too. But he would face considerable opposition within his own family to that happening. And ultimately, one suspects that they would hold sway over the king, that there would be so much opposition from members of the family and from courtiers and advisors that her attempts to come back in would be met with a slamming of the gates and a foxtrot Oscar. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.